The first debate session ends. The Council now proceeds to the second debate session. Members who wish to speak in this session, please press the Request to Speak button. The debate theme of this session is Continue to Create Strong Impetus for Growth. The policy areas covered in this session has been set out on this page for members' easy reference. Ms. Lillian Kwok. Thank you, Madam Deputy. The country is going to develop into a modernized socialist state, and we also have to develop as well. However, we are too monotonous in our development and in education. We need plurality. Now, there are 5 universities in Hong Kong among the top 100 universities. However, the supply of talents is still inadequate. We face manpower shortage and the government wants to compete for talents. However, where do talents come from? In the 20th National Congress report, it is said that we should nurture our own talents as well as attract talents. In the policy address, there are various measures to attract overseas talents to come to Hong Kong and to develop here. I'm of the view that in the long run, we should nurture our local talents before we can have a stable and long-term supply of talents. The policy address has got a number of measures so that we can be an INT hub. Now we are going to add STEM or arts into STEM education to form team. We need IT talents. However, the support for INT in schools now for more than 2 decades, they are still employed as contract and non-permanent staff. Given the case, how can we have a stable supply of INT people to remain in schools to assist in the promotion of INT education? Even schools are competing for talents. I think we should review schools' employment policy for INT personnel. They should be incorporated into the establishment of the teaching force, so that they can have stability in career and we can attract relevant professionals to work in schools to assist INT education. Hong Kong should also be a cultural exchange hub for the East and the West, and we should be able to tell the story of Hong Kong well, as we all agree that arts is a very good platform for us to connect to the world, and we can tell the Hong Kong story as well as the Chinese story well. We are unique in our geographical location, and that is an advantage for arts development. Now, such as toys, culture, and our creative industries, etc., are ambassadors of our arts. And then our artists are also leaders in this trend. Now, this batch of artists are talents in arts and culture. I suggest the administration make good use of our artists that support us. Now, there is the creation of the Cultural, Sports and Tourism Bureau in this term of government to show the government's determination in the development of arts and culture. But as I said, in the long run, we must nurture our own talents. Hong Kong students have been criticized for the lack of interest in the arts, and how can we nurture our own talents? Now, actually, all kids are born with curiosity and also creativity. Do you understand that as they move up the education stream, they've lost their interest in creativity. Untrained teachers may just teach visual arts in the classroom, just with a teaching kit. Now, untrained teachers will not be able to nurture our students. They cannot give them a thorough lecture in the appreciation of, for instance, ancient Chinese china and oil paintings, etc. We must enhance our students' communication skills, and arts education is key. We should help them to develop their skills, build up knowledge, and also positive values. And they can also enjoy the whole process. Visual arts is an important subject. How come it hasn't been given the recognition due to it? So the government should enhance the teaching of the arts in foundation education. Now, the policy address wants to give our people a sense of well-being. Our quality of life keeps increasing, and yet the happiness index keeps falling. So how can people have a sense of well-being? Now, people have to feel happy and feel good, and yet we have dozens of students that took their lives every year. And for local social work training, there is insufficient training in counseling. And social workers also face a shortage of manpower. They are not able to intervene in a timely manner to prevent strategies. We have 7 universities providing a master program in counseling, and a lot of professional counselors have been trained, and they are recognized. Their qualifications are recognized in other countries. They can practice there. But in Hong Kong, we do not have a registration system for this group of professions. They are invisible in Hong Kong. They don't have a role in our career ladder. So how can we expect them to develop their professionalism in Hong Kong? How can they work hand in hand with the government to address deep-seated problems? How can they help our people to have a sense of gain? Now, they do not have any status and recognition here. I think we have wasted our locally trained talents. Presidency said that we should enhance exchange of talents. Now, we need talents. We should not just trawl for talents and retain talents. We should see how we can maximize our own local talents. Thank you. I so submit. Mr. Kenneth Fogg, thank you. The PA has a lot of paragraphs on sports and the arts, and many of my views have been incorporated. And the sector has told me that they have a lot of expectations, and I have several suggestions for proper implementation of the policy initiatives. First, to promote the arts and sports and tourism. Now we will have a 10-year blueprint for development of arts and facilities, and a similar blueprint for sports facilities, and there will also be enhancement measures. But for tourism, we've only got development of local tours. The country has always stressed a collaboration among culture, sports, and tourism. And the 14th five-year plan, it is suggested that we have world-class tourism attractions and resorts, and that we should also have some good itineraries and also tourist attractions, etc., so as to enhance our efficiency. However, we're still looking at isolated projects only. We have not worked in collaboration with tourism. I hope that under the new government, we can really be result-oriented. We do not have an interdepartmental coordination mechanism. A few days ago, when the secretary responded to questions, related question, he said that there was no intention on the part of government to set up an interdepartmental mechanism to oversee the three areas. So we're a bit disappointed. How can we ensure that there is synergy so that 1 + 1 is greater than 2? We must have subsidies and interdepartmental efforts. The government is going to set up the Culture Commission. We've also got a Sports Commission. I hope that on top of these two commissions, in their terms of reference and in the membership, you can have tourism-related personnel to promote the collaboration of sports, culture, and tourism for better synergy. Government subsidies are mainly for NGOs. There is rarely any cooperation with the business sector. So this has confined the commercialization of these industries and collaboration among the different sectors. Singapore is different. They have clear KPIs, and they take the initiative to introduce famous culture and tourism brand names. This year, they attracted over 300,000 visitors, bringing remarkable economic benefits. Now, the PA talks about refining or enhancing. I hope the government can relax the relevant restrictions and enhance the approval system. The whole world is recovering from the pandemic. We are competing for talents and also resources. The government should change its small government policy and collaborate with the market to respond to President Xi's expectations mentioned in his June 1st important speech. We should integrate the government and the public, the private sector. Now, for professionalization and commercialization, I am of the view that there is room for improvement. President Xi, in the report to the 20th National Congress, said that we should promote the development of sports in the community. Now, in 2021-25, a general fitness scheme, the value of the industry will be raised to 5,000 billion RMB. Hong Kong should support the R&D of sports to utilities, and we can also R&D in devices to boost the performance of our athletes. Guangdong has a lot of athletes, and we can also promote the development of sports in the GBA so that we can use sports to tell good stories of Hong Kong. It's expected that more people will take part in sports, and there will be a greater demand for sports medicine. We can help injured athletes and help members of the public to prevent diseases. I hope we can develop sports medicine. I'd also like to focus on this big market of sports dispute resolution. This is a very important part. Most disputes were resolved in Western countries in the past, but now with the decline of the West and a rise of the East, we should be more proactive. We have the advantage of one country, two systems, and the rule of law is our core. And we have experience in mediation and arbitration for a long time. We are in a very strong position to become a sports dispute resolution center. The Hong Kong Olympic Committee and also the two legal professional bodies have discussed this possibility. According to Queen Mary University and law firm in London, they did a study, and Hong Kong ranked among the top 3 in dealing with various dispute resolution. Hong Kong is the best place for arbitration in sports disputes. And we have also got the model template for dealing with arbitration.
On the talent side, Hong Kong has legal professionals that can serve as arbitrators, and also has experienced firms. They are able to serve their different clients at a high professional level. Moving on to One Belt, One Road, I think with more multinational competitions, when these events are in place, they will need mediation arbitration services. Now, I suggest in the 10-year plan, aside from audience and athletes, there can be further cooperation into promoting Hong Kong as a sports arbitration center. Third, I want to talk about the digital economy. The policy address covered a lot of areas relating to technology. The government will provide one-stop services, and on virtual assets there will be a licensing regime and a regulatory regime. The digital renminbi is being developed right now. So we can see the SAR is taking a very positive attitude towards IT. It is enhancing its role as a financial center. These IT initiatives are focused on finance. On the art side, they're focused on hardware development. Now, the ecology also deserves enhancement. Now, there are 5 departments on the central government who have promulgated 2022-26 initiative in promoting virtual, for example, virtual reality plus culture, leisure, and sports, plus retails and so on. They have also promoted different policies. For example, higher education, service platform. So we need cross-border platforms in order to have better integration with the mainland. In the digital economy, we need more data analysis to help with a better user experience. It's not just taking services and putting them online. The central government has a consolidated platform. They will provide personalized services for users. And recently, in Tin Shui Wai, there has been a monument restoration project. But I see they don't talk too much about digital archives and so on. So I hope the government can consider this area. I also hope that the LCSD can take the existing museums or the information and resources can be digitized, and we can have a platform where the users can access this information. In the Internet 3.0 and the Metaverse era, aside from recruiting talent, we also need to support the universities developing curriculum. They have to provide courses that can meet industry needs. They need to train talent. So and we need a sustainable environment. We don't want to lose our role or our standing in the technology arena. So this guy gives rise to IP protection. Now, last month there was a virtual asset development like a discussion. So when there are IP lawsuits and when there is a transfer of assets, there are copyright issues and other legal issues that need to be resolved. Otherwise, it would lead to a lot of legal conflict. So we should have wider IP exchange activities. So I hope that the SAR government can legislate useful laws, strengthen the governance of intellectual property. We also need to help SMEs train personnel in IP. Commerce and industry should also help establish a voluntary IP registration system, and that can promote trade and cultural development. Our role as such can be further strengthened. Now, CE John Lee's first policy address has indicated that innovation and a broad perspective. So we feel that Hong Kong can better integrate into the mainland, and we can resolve some long-standing social issues in Hong Kong. And thank you. That would conclude my speech. Dr. Johnny Ng. The 2022 policy address included a wide variety of topics. It was practical, included the stimulating the economy. It included the presidency's 4 musts and 4 hopes, and Hong Kong needs an impetus for growth. And we also need to integrate the 20th National People's Congress spirit. It has also talked about a $10 billion research institute, recruiting talent, and providing a talent importation scheme. So all this indicates that the CE is determined in securing a better prospects for Hong Kong and Hong Kong people. So I'm very happy that the Hong Kong government will establish a Hong Kong Investment Corporation, and that will help nurture IT ecology. It is definitely advantageous for Hong Kong. The SAR government at the beginning of the month, made a declaration that Hong Kong would make inroads into virtual assets development. Now, a lot of people welcome this message. They support the Hong Kong government deploying clear regulatory regimes. Now, there was an internet conference, an online conference recently, where we shared Hong Kong's strengths and the infrastructure support. And we had more than 200,000 people attend the conference. So it indicates that the policy is attractive to international investors. And most people were concerned about, aside from the policy, they were concerned whether the SAR government would create easier channels or more convenient channels to attract talent to invest and work in Hong Kong. So aside from some advantages that Hong Kong would have, we still have to overcome a lot of challenges. We need to do better than our competition in areas such as talent and regulatory regime. We have an aging population and a declining population, so all these are weigh heavily on our economic development. It also affects how the government will draft policy. So I think that the SAR government needs to reformulate its population policy. We need to attract tertiary students to study in Hong Kong and stay in Hong Kong. The new round of population analysis will only be concluded in 2023, and the results will be announced in 2024. Now, we need high-end talent to come to Hong Kong. We need to import talent to Hong Kong. We have to ensure that there is a strong foundation to support their work. We need to plan ahead for human resource deployment. We have to provide sufficient support for the coming year's development. So we are moving from stability to prosperity. We need to identify our strengths and advantages. We need to align with the 14th five-year plan. We need to align with the One Belt, One Road. And we need to take advantage of the opportunities in front of us. Thank you, President. That concludes my speech. Mr. Duncan Chu, President, the theme of this session is creating strong impetus for growth. I'm confident that Hong Kong government is capable and is determined to make or to develop new grounds. We are looking at ways to inject more vitality into Hong Kong. Me and my colleagues in the IT sector will support the government in these endeavors. The IT policies are the results of senior officials' efforts, such as the IT Bureau, and these have been included in the policy address, and I am very encouraged. We have some long-standing issues such as talent, investment, and the policy address has addressed some of these issues. There are also some breakthroughs. For example, we have some long-standing issues across the many departments. For example, the talent scheme program, one-stop service for talent, importing targeted enterprises, and in long-term investment. The financial secretary also said that the government would establish the Hong Kong Investment Corporation. So these measures have been suggestions made over the years. So we're very happy to see them materialized in the policy address, and we also hope that the industry can work with the government to implement them. So I hope the government can work with the IT sector and different stakeholders to implement these policies. We want to build Hong Kong into an IT innovation center. We want to support the mainland. Chairman, the recruiting talent is an important topic. The mainland wishes to develop its science and technology. We need to attract talent to this area. In the past, we've had success in attracting talent in finance, in IT, and innovation. On this occasion, the PA has made a breakthrough. They've outlined many strategies to attract talent. The CE said he would attract talent, and I hope that it's not just a slogan. There are real actions that they will undertake. We should recruit and attract different levels of talent. Well, for example, we can attract talent through large projects. We can also attract basic research talent. We need to fill a gap of more than 100,000. We need to build up a talent bank. I also suggest the government support their talents' families. They need to feel respected. So whether it's housing, education, childcare, these talents should receive more support, and they should be willing to stay in Hong Kong. Setting up targeted enterprises. This has been something that we've been anticipating for many years, and I hope that the task force can achieve results in the IT panel this week. I had made my thoughts known, and this will involve the cooperation between different bureaus and departments such as Commerce Development, Labor Welfare, and even Financial Services and Treasury. So this task force establishment, who will there be a new team responsible for this work to implement this policy?
公室最終能
Would this office be able to really implement it? It's something I am concerned with. I hope that the administration will be able to tell us clearly how the department will divide up their jobs, and I hope that the office will begin work as soon as possible to help us to survive through this long winter. Some people in our sector will be concerned that the administration is only focusing on competing for enterprises and forget to retain our own talents. We must let enterprises know about their clear future so that they will continue to stay in Hong Kong. This year's policy address has given us great news on innovation and technology. One of which is the program which can actually which is the 1+ scheme. But then we hope that you would allow the universities to gradually roll out their applications. Many research programs need some time before you can see initial results. During the initial stage, universities may find it difficult for one-to-one matching. And so we hope that you can relax the requirement for the business match. We also hope that you'll be able to put the focus on 1 to N instead of 0 to 1, because the 1 to N transformation will enhance the matching of enterprises with universities. Next year, the government will amend the ordinance and to further expand the coverage of 5G. This is welcoming news to the telecommunication sector. We hope that this could be achieved as soon as possible. Even with the implementation, what would happen to buildings that are already constructed? Recently, at a meeting with the Broadcasting Authority, due to some fears and concerns by the people of radiation, I suggest that more promotion be done so that people will understand the misunderstandings of radiation. The government has opened up applications for enterprises to apply for stations, but then because of the long and lengthy process, many enterprises are unwilling to do that. So I hope that you can actually streamline the procedures so that they will be able to put up the 5G stations. As the representative of innovation and technology in the LegCo, I hope that we can work together with the government to really implement all the measures raised for this sector. I personally believe that INT will progress smoothly in the future. I hope that the Secretary and your team will continue to build a strong foundation for INT so that Hong Kong can become an INT hub and that you can contribute to become an INT district in the country. Thank you. Dr. Chow Man Kwong. Thank you. President Xi, in the 20th National Congress, set out that we should create strong impetus growth, especially how to work together to connect the mainland and overseas financially to compete for talents is actually a basis for development. I actually fully support the establishment of the Office for Attracting Strategic Enterprises because this is actually an innovative idea in opening up new paths for Hong Kong's development, such as optimizing the competing of talents, and the Chief Secretary for Administration will also establish the Talent Service Unit to recruit talents from the mainland and overseas. And the Office for Attracting Strategic Enterprises, led by the Financial Secretary, will also offer special facilitation measures and one-stop services to attract strategic enterprises from the mainland and overseas. The 1+ scheme would also be set up, and that would support over 100 startups to help Hong Kong become a center for innovation. These measures show that the CE is courageous in setting out a new path for INT, and that it is actually a strong transformation, showing that the government is moving towards a highly efficient society. However, I believe that in the global Trawl for talents, the government can be more aggressive and to create a better environment to recruit talents. We want our talents to come over to Southeast Asia. We don't want them to only to fly over to or to go over to New York and to London. Singapore ranks 6th in the world. Hong Kong ranks 21st. Do we still want to be lacking so behind? Although there have been more proactive measures in recruiting talents, it's still not enough. The KPI is to attract 35,000 talents to Hong Kong in the next few years. However, before the pandemic, during normal times, through the usual scheme or through the talent admission scheme, the numbers already reach around 60,000 a year. Since the government wants to optimize the talent measure, the threshold has to be 2.5 million for top talent, and that attraction really is not comparable to that of Singapore. In Singapore, all work visas will only take 10 days to process, and they have designated personnel to handle it. I call upon the government to use or to adopt a dynamic approach in attracting talents and to streamline the application process. Only those who have stayed for 7 years can have their extra stamp duty returned, and that really is not enough. Perhaps you should consider providing housing subsidy instead. According to statistics, overseas enterprises setting up their offices in Hong Kong only reached a number of 1,457, which is actually a huge difference or a huge drop compared to over 2,000 previously. As long as you can set up or open up innovation and technology and try to change the environment, I'm sure that we'll be able to do that. We must try to focus on potential and value-added sectors such as medical and health, AI. Only these can really help develop the synergy effect. The Chief Executive Policy Unit or NGOs can also look into the research and follow up the development of overseas enterprises and to conduct visits to the mainland and connect with coastal cities such as Coastal and Shanghai. connect with them and to learn from them and to divide up our work. We must continue to play an important role. In order to achieve the goal, we must also work towards higher education because that can help us to build our strengths. And then we would not actually be led by the neck. We must review all rules and regulations in Hong Kong, and for those that are not particularly attractive to innovation and technology, we must try to update them and amend them as soon as possible to take away all the obstacles for INT development. To retain talent is equally important, and I will provide you with more recommendations in the other sessions. I so submit. Mr. Yim Kong. Thank you, Madam Deputy. Well, this policy address came at a crucial time. This is the first policy address with the new government. We were able to implement Patriots administering Hong Kong, and now the pandemic has become more stable. This has created a better environment for Hong Kong. The policy address shows that the current government is willing to face and overcome obstacles and to fully implement the edge of the one country, two systems principle and to work together with the nation for future development. And so we can work together to create impetus for growth and also to address people's concerns and difficulties in daily life. Therefore, I support the motion of thanks motion. However, we still need to review all our measures. I would like to raise 3 points. First, in competing for talents and recruiting for talents, Hong Kong must continue with our edge to ensure that we have high value added enterprises and attracting talents for enterprises. At this time, however, we have insufficient manpower and we face the pressure of turnover. We must try to grow our team of talents. I support the government measures in recruiting talents, and I am happy to see that the government has included measures in attracting more enterprises. And talents can also enjoy a refund of the extra stamp duty upon being permanent residents. The government can come up with more measures to Trawl talents, such as trying to set up large recruitment fairs to attract overseas and mainline talents, and also to demonstrate to them the attractive measures. And we can also try to connect with overseas enterprises and mainland enterprises to recruit their talents, and we should extend them to outside of the INT sector. We must also target special talents because we do lack talents in certain industries. We must try to introduce more talents to take up jobs in Hong Kong. Through the one country, two systems principle, we actually have the potential to attract more people, and this can become an impetus for our growth. We can also help us to open up our country to the world and also to boost national growth. To integrate into national growth, Hong Kong must actively participate in the planning of the country and also to work on the Belt and Road initiatives, especially when we face all these geopolitical uncertainties. The US and Western countries are looking into other measures such as Brexit and other measures. We must try to enhance our foundation and to minimize our risks. The mainland has been working towards this end. Hong Kong must catch up and try to dovetail with national strategies to create a strong impetus for growth.
On service industries, the government can still work on the following 4 directions. First, Hong Kong's status as a bridge between the world and the mainland can be enhanced. We should encourage more resources to Hong Kong. We should strengthen our traditional industries and also strengthens Hong Kong's position as an aviation and shipping center. We should promote economic transformation and improve the stability mechanism for our financial market. And then on our shipping industry, we face fierce competition and resources are limited and our facilities are dated. And our international aviation center is declining in importance. We must develop high value added aviation or shipping industry. The government has adopted measures to attract business to Hong Kong. However, we must consolidate our position, and we have to strengthen our shipping ecosystem and support the development of financial sector, aviation, and trade. We should promote integration with nearby ports in GBA and encourage cooperation among different ports. We should make good use of land, space, manpower, and resources in GBA to supplement our shortfall. And then we should have overall coordination of development of ports in Hong Kong and Shenzhen. Now we should develop our economy together with the country. We should unite different sectors of the community so that we can have good governance. The council will adjourn at about 6:15 p.m. Mr. Chen Xiu-hong. Thank you, President. In the second part of the debate, I'd like to comment on attracting strategic enterprises and talents to Hong Kong. Competing for enterprises and competing for talents is one of the full sign of the PA. I'm pleased to see that the government has got measures and targets. For instance, at least 100 representative and high potential INT enterprises should be attracted to Hong Kong in between 2023 and 25. Under the importation labor scheme, at least 35,000 talents that will stay for at least 15 months will be attracted to Hong Kong. I support these measures. However, I think to attain these targets is going to be rather challenging because all economies are trawling for talents and enterprises. Many places are providing more attractive facilitation measures than Hong Kong. To win in this war, the government should be able to do the following. First, we must leverage our advantage as having the backup of the country and our integration with the international community. We should let people know that we have one country, two systems, and rule of law, and is also a hub integrating the mainland and the international community. Now, the government should promote the GBA development and the Northern Metropolis, Lantau tomorrow, and to tell them our advantages to attract talents to come to Hong Kong. We must simplify the procedures. I'm pleased to see that there will be one-stop service where there will be top talent pass scheme to entice talents to pursue their careers in Hong Kong. And then there will also be the Office for Attracting Strategic Enterprises, Talents Service Units to attract talents and enterprises. These are good, but there's room for further improvement. We should learn from Singapore. The relevant officials should call up these target talents and enterprises personally. I'm pleased to see that Mr. Swen Dong, Secretary for ITI, said a few days ago that he was going to call up these enterprises and talents. I hope other officials can follow suit. Now, in promotion of INT development, the PA has mapped out the direction and strategies for development. I agree to these, but we must enhance our efficiency in terms of digital infrastructure and e-commerce and e-government. We should catch up. We should not have too many pilot schemes and R&D. Mature INT technology should be implemented the soonest possible. The government must encourage the commercialization of R&D products so that people can benefit from the outcome of R&D and see their quality of life enhanced. We must ensure that our people can enjoy the outcome of R&D to make it meaningful. Now, the government has said that we must enhance the development of a world-class port cluster, and Hong Kong should be an international shipping center. The DA said that we must promote the development of a smart port, and there should be connectivity in information to enhance our competitiveness. I fully agree to this. Many cities and provinces have got smart port infrastructure, and Israel has also got a pilot scheme on a block supply chain and other technology. Hong Kong has fallen behind. We must enhance the viability and also capacity of our ports. Thank you. Mr. Yu Pak Lang, thank you. The chief executive announced his first policy address to set out his vision and rationale for governance, covering different areas of administration and opening a new chapter for the development of Hong Kong. There are over 500 policy initiatives, from defending national security, sovereignty and development rights, enhancing our governance and better integration with the country's development, and to address deep-seated problems associated with people's livelihood in Hong Kong, to respond to the proposals and expectations by President Xi in his July 1st speech. Now, an important part of the PA is to address the housing issues. Now, the government has set up a working group for a task force for housing supply and to shorten the time for making greenfield sites to spade-ready sites. The policy address has further proposed that the PRH waiting time be shortened, and MIC should be used so that 30,000 new units can be produced in 5 years to increase flat supply by 25% and to provide basic infrastructure in PRH so that people can be allocated flats earlier. I think This addresses the people's aspiration to have adequate housing. The business sector is also very concerned about the loss of manpower in Hong Kong. There are decisive measures in the policy address to address this. We face an aging population as well as brain drain, and because of the pandemic, we've lost attraction to overseas talents. Our workforce has shrunk by 140,000 in the past 2 years. Those aged between 15 and 19 and 25 to 29, they've fallen by 12% and 23% respectively year on year. So it is proposed in the policy address that one-stop talent service units be set up, and we should encourage our overseas Hong Kong residents to come back to Hong Kong so that we can create a strong impetus for growth. I hope that the administration can assist enterprises to deal with the problem in recruitment of basic personnel. To attract international talents to Hong Kong, the infection control measures have a role to play. COVID-19 has plagued us for almost 3 years. We all want life to resume to normal. On different occasions, the chief executive has said that we will not backpedal in infection control. Based on the pandemic situation, Hong Kong should be gradually allowed to resume normalcy. Since the 1st of July, the government has introduced various measures to relax the pandemic control measures. First, the flight suspension mechanism has been cancelled, and then the adjustment of quarantine arrangements from 7+3 to 0+3, and also we have had 2 major events in Hong Kong, and we have been sending out the message to the world that Hong Kong has come back. But we are still at a starting point. Our tourism industry is still struggling to survive, although we have seen some revival in outbound traveling. But for the latest hotel occupation rate and the room prices are still falling. There is still a long way to grow for full recovery. The industry hoped that there will be new supporting measures, but then we've only got 167 words or characters on tourism industry in the PA. And the policy address only mentioned tourism 11 times, aviation 4 times, and hotel 3 times. And then those measures are nothing new, and they've only talked about existing measures for the tourism industry, that is Spanish eco tour and local tour, etc. I think we should have targeted measures to help enterprises suffering, and we want short-term relief for the industry, but they are disappointed because it's not contained in the policy address. The government has reorganized itself to set up a culture, sports, and tourism bureau. We hope that there can be collaboration of the 3 industries. But then there is little mention of integration of the 3 industries. In the policy address, there are the 3 are discussed separately in the PA. For instance, ecotourism in Lantau South, it is under leisure facilities and projects for Center for Cultural Exchange between the East and the West. Again, tourism is not included. And cultural tours. Now, some of the historic sites are not open at weekends. They do not accept bookings by the tour groups, and some LCSD facilities do not serve visitors. So these show that sports, culture, and tourism are very much segregated. the three are not integrated at all. There is innovative thinking in many areas in the policy address. It has mapped out a new chapter for Hong Kong, but I feel rather helpless as a member from the tourism sector. How is the government going to promote recovery of the tourism sector and also collaboration between culture, sports, and tourism? There is little in the policy address about this. They have addressed our aspirations by introducing some targeting measures for inbound tours, but the road to recovery is still long. We need government support.
I have 6 suggestions to promote tourism. First of all, the government should provide support to the industry. During COVID, the tourist sector was the first to be hit and the latest to recover. For each inbound tourist, overnight tourist, who spends on average $6,000, then Hong Kong would have lost an income of more than 1,000 billion. So not only does tourism suffer, not only does tourist sector suffer, the whole Hong Kong economy suffers as well. So the government needs to provide sustained support. So before we see a recovery in the tourism sector, we need to help tourist companies survive and retain and maintain employment. They need to build up capacity. They need to maintain their fleet coaches and other equipment. They need to prepare for the recovery. Second, we need to have a roadmap and timetable schedule for reopening borders. Now, compared to other jurisdictions, Hong Kong has very stringent COVID restrictions, and that is deterring tourists from visiting Hong Kong. Recently, we see there is a little opportunity for opening borders. Even with the 0+3 policy, there is still room for fine-tuning and improvement. For example, visitors should be allowed to reduce the number of PCR tests. We'd like the government to take extra steps. Now, for a real recovery, we need to relax quarantine. We also need to reconnect with the mainland. So the SAR government needs to communicate with their mainland counterparts. Third, we need to integrate culture, tourism, and sports. In the 14th Five-Year Plan, we have a new initiative. The mainland had promulgated a Greater Bay plan. Our current term of government also set up a Culture Tourism Bureau. So how can we integrate sports, tourism, and culture? How do we attract more tourists, big spending tourists? These should be our new goals. Chairman, integration of culture, tourism, and sports can generate a lot of economic impact. Now, I think a lot of us have attended the Rugby Sevens. This is a good example of integrating sports, culture, and tourism. We have longtime sponsors of the event. We have the efforts of the Tourism Bureau, the sports associations. Now, even with COVID restrictions, we still saw a lot of diehard fans attending the event. So this serves as a good example. Hong Kong has unique conditions to host these events. Now, in order to further promote cooperation, I have urged the government to set up a strategic group to manage sports, culture, and tourism. And they should act as a think tank and provide policy input for the government. Fourth, we need to build tourism attractions. Hong Kong has a lot of natural resources, monuments, and antiquities. So recently, we had received a geological mention by international associations. So I have always proposed country park, geological green tourism, shoreline blue tourism, and enjoying the nighttime landscape of Hong Kong, enjoying artifacts and monuments, and we also have the cultural history of World War II history. We have the Hong Kong Imperial Palace. We have the West Kowloon Cultural Center. All these new facilities can serve as tourist attractions. And fifth, we also need local tours. Before COVID, the government did not have a local tourism as part of their strategy. And even the locals have the feeling that it is a cheap, low-cost alternative. Now, with recent efforts, the industry has come up with a lot of innovative local tourism products. So the public have also enhanced their awareness of these products. So I hope through these measures and enhancing of hardware, we can have a lot of local district characteristic tour services, and it can also allow for a better experience for overseas travelers. Lastly, I have some suggestions. The government needs to leverage Tourism Bureau's efforts. It should also partner with the tourism sector. They should work with foreign delegations and enhance and develop the different networks and attract non-popular. We also need to build new airline routes. We also need to make it more convenient for visitors to visit Hong Kong. Chairman, tourism is an important pillar of Hong Kong's economy. The SAR government needs to continue to attach importance to the sector. We need sustained support. We need to integrate sports, leisure, and tourism, sports culture, and tourism. At the same time, through the tourism industry, we can tell the Hong Kong story and the China story. Mr. Andrew Lam, this term of government has established a sports culture bureau. So through the integration of culture, tourism, and sports, and under the leadership of the 14th Five-Year Plan, where we have East-West Cultural Exchange, this arrangement has facilitated and made the exchange of information much more convenient, and I extend my fullest support. The policy address on this occasion, I had a lot of expectations. I had hoped for hardware development and policy initiatives such that sports, culture, and tourism could be integrated organically. The policy address suggested setting up a cultural committee. So we need some policies. We don't want to wait years for research. On the other hand, we talk about describing the Hong Kong story. Well, it also means persuading the audience. So no matter how compelling the story, we still need to broadcast the message. Now, in the previous policy address, we have overseas trade centers. We have our economic trade offices that play an important role. But at the current moment, we only have a Beijing office. So I hope that we can commission officers to work and serve as ambassadors in these global centers. We need to spread Hong Kong culture. We need the Hong Kong story to be spread across the world. Mr. Edward Lam, President, the theme of this session is continue to create strong impetus for growth. I think it can be summarized in the word recruit. We need to recruit talent. We need to recruit investment. The government understands our shortcomings. In the past, we had political squabbles and Hong Kong was falling behind its neighbors. Now we need to catch up. So the PA has a lot of breakthrough measures. For example, in recruiting targeted enterprises, recruiting talent. All this indicates change and the desire to seek solutions. I support that. Now, President, yesterday I returned from Indonesia. I did not go on a vacation. I had participated in the G20 civilian conference. So we want to find business opportunities, find partnerships, and today I'm able to participate in the policy address debate. It's because of a relaxation of COVID measures. Even though we're not talking about public health, I want to say that if we set restrictions, then how can we attract investment to Hong Kong and create business opportunities? To attract talent and business, aside from highlighting our strengths, we need to have policy initiatives and incentives in order to recruit, in order to create more impetus. In the 14th five-year plan and under the One Belt, One Road strategy, and with the central government's strong support, there is no doubt we will receive the full support of the central government. We need to focus on our strengths. Now, my recent G20 visit, I had met with a lot of civilian organizations, including the chairman of G20, the Indonesia Chamber of Commerce president, and I heard their evaluation of Hong Kong's situation, and the consensus was that the policy address has a lot of measures to enhance our finance competitiveness. Now, but for a lot of times they feel it has little to do with them. Why do they feel it is so remote and isolated from them? So when I ask them, they say they have a lot of large enterprises locally that can list in their own stock exchanges. Now, if there is an opportunity to list in Hong Kong, it would be very attractive, but unfortunately, we don't allow them to list in Hong Kong. We don't allow a second listing. So even though we do have a secondary listing mechanism, but the enterprises that are allowed are only limited to accredited exchanges and accredited enterprises, and typically they are focused in Europe and North America. The only other exchanges are Tokyo, Sydney, Tokyo, Australia, Japan, and so unless they are willing to forfeit their own local listing and list in Hong Kong, now that is not quite possible. So let's say they are willing to seek a primary listing in Hong Kong. So but there is a higher market capitalization requirement for them to do so. So can we relax our threshold and allow for ASEAN industries? Now, some people will say that will create a shock to the system because there are different levels. The companies listed in ASEAN countries are of a different quality. Now, if we have sufficient regulatory regime on secondary listing, but I have sufficient confidence in our local regulatory regime. Now, we should allow for a secondary listing of their major industries and build up experience from that. So the PA, when it talks about finance competitiveness, the direction is correct, but we need to work on making it real.
I hope that the administration can think of ways in the coming fiscal year to adopt measures to really implement the spirit of the policy address and to compete for the talent so that they will come to Hong Kong. I so submit. The meeting will adjourn now. We resume tomorrow at 9.